So, you may be wondering, why am I making another video about my NDE? Well, you have to understand that when you're in the process of being interviewed, that there are certain things that leave your mind because you're kind of under pressure. Not that I was nervous or anything like that, not at all, but you're just kind of focused and in the moment, and you're trying to be quick about things to answer a question. So there are minute details like you just tend to leave out naturally. um, I used to be on a show every week, and this would just happen. That's just how it is when you're doing things online, I suppose. So I wanted to get into the wheel of time. Um, I explained it pretty well, but there are certain feelings and emotions that came up when I was observing it. And mind you, I was not really given an explanation as to why I was even being shown this. But I think it's really important to realize that the future events I could not remember. And that's strange to me because it's almost like I'm trying to uncover a piece of myself ever since through not remembering that by obsessing over the future. Now, if my longtime subscribers know full well how obsessive I am in attempting to predict the future, especially with the animation of iPad Go 2, which I presume shows the future. Um, and I absolutely make a connection between that experience and being unable to determine the future events. Having said that, however, what makes it particularly strange is that when I was observing the wheel, there it was all simultaneous. So um, everything was there was no actual distinction between future or past in that observation phase. But yet, after the experience was over, it seems like it was deliberately cut off from my memory, just like the last words that God Himself told me was also seemingly deliberately and purposely cut off from my memory, which is kind of unusual. Many near death experiences, you hear when people do see the light, that they do remember very clearly the voice, the telepathic communication. It was I do remember the power, the emanation, the raw power and beauty of the voice, kind of just internally, just like rumbling through me. I remember details about the voice. I remember the communication being instant and telepathic, and beyond, well beyond telepathic. It was emotional communication on a very deep level. But the exact kind of message itself, like the words, I suppose you could say, I don't. And but whatever it was, I clearly recall being very upset and kind of just distressed about the whole situation. And obviously I didn't want to leave because I was an absolute perfection. I was in the absolute most perfect perfection that ever was and ever will be, and that's how it always was. There was no beginning or ending, and that's my main point about the wheel of time that I wanted to make, seemingly showing the history, past, present, future, and the entire timeline of Earth events, is that it's like in this continuous loop. And I feel like that's regardless of whether you shift into another dimension or not, like we seemingly have here, or whatever happened, it's still like in this cyclical pattern. And obviously, there's countless upon countless dimensions. I have seen them in out of body experiences. I've seen other versions of Earth. You would have to go back like an entire year, probably, to my first videos when I started talking about my dreams. Um, and the variation is eternal. Like there's no beginning or ending to any of it. And I kind of been pondering ever since the experience that perhaps creation indeed never had a beginning. How could something have a beginning if something always was? If God always was, why should we assume that this eternal cyclical pattern of Earth, for example, I don't know, Big Bang, the Big Bang goes off, the universe expands, and then it kind of contracts back into a singularity, only to explode again into another universe and another cyclical pattern of events play out and with slight deviations of the prior universe, and then it contracts again, and this cycle just kind of, it's like a breathing out and breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, and it never ends and it never started, which is really mysterious. Like the attempting to decipher these sort of mysteries of God is like practically impossible for our feeble human minds. But it's interesting to ponder these things, though, because you can't help but wonder how could that be? Like, how could something always be forever? And what does that really mean? Like, what does that really mean? I've always wondered. And it's the closest explanation is how I felt in that realm was like it's just an eternal moment. It's just an eternal right now. And there's always just right now. And there can only always be just right now. So that's why the earth is always right now and was always in this cyclical pattern right now because it was forever. I don't want to turn your brains into Swiss cheese, but if I have, I apologize. Anyway, been making a lot of videos lately. Been on a roll, but it's good, I hope.